So especially from Maeve and Breda and Fiona and the Cronin women, Nicola, I say a big collective thank you for kind of many a family event with posh and shiny hairstyles, you know. And, you know, yesterday, the bride-to-be, I watched as my mother's living room was transformed into a salon of Parisian proportions. Fiona was on her knees giving Tanya an artistic kind of pedicure, painting her feet with patience and skill. The bride-to-be was not, as you might imagine, sitting with her feet up on a cushion. She was hovered over my mother's face with the tweezers, and the rest of us stood in line, gleefully waiting for Nicola to make us lovely. She practically Botoxed us into respectability. And she was smiling all the way, you know. And, you know, she was only about 2 and a bit when I stuck an old ponytail on top of her head one day, and she burst out crying into the mirror. And she said, "Mammy, you've made my hair all." She couldn't think of a word, you know. I said, "Oh gosh, isn't it grand? Aren't you lovely?" "No," she said, "you made me all muffy." She was a mammy. She was, you know, she'd give out to me, but she was a mammy's girl at heart, you know. You take an average Saturday when kind aunties would come and try to dress the girls up and take them off to town, and Nicola would get dressed up as well, but she'd only get as far as the corner, and she'd arrive back at the doorstep, you know, and she'd kind of want her, I don't know if you all know about her sucky blanket, her dolly, her mum, and a peanut butter sandwich, you know. But she was still a sweetheart. She was kind of very easy to mind, you know. I still get to do the magazine and the coffee, because the deal was Nicola would collect her little pal Alison Moore, and she'd take root in the garden. I think, wait till you hear this. She would create this marathon game of house that would quite seriously last from one end of the summer to the other, right? And the front garden would be completely colonised by a made-up house, and Nicola and her made-up husband Alison would set up a very harmonious home. They never fought, not much. And I remember loads and loads of play settings. I think you had about 22 kids between you. And your sister was swinging out of trees at all this time, you know. It was the 70s, and all this was going on, and I was reading like a maniac and following the big exciting story of women and liberation and educational opportunities for girls. But there was something so sweet about the fact that I'd give my baby daughter some paper and a pen to keep her happy, and she'd invariably draw me a picture of a princess in a wedding dress. It was nature over nurture. But yet Nicola was also in love with the notion of learning. She loved school, and she was quietly soaking up all she was given. You know, the time kind of, one minute she was 4, and the next she was struggling with exams. And basically trying to keep out of my way long enough to get a decent social life going for herself. You know, the good fairy of teenagers had obviously landed and said to her, "Lose the mammy," right? So she stopped manipulating hairstyles and got very creative at manipulating her own schedule. She was good. I'll give her that. She was a great one to get going out midweek when it was a school night. But anyway, Nicola was always a girl about goodness and grace. And it's just so lovely to see her on this such a special, loving day in her life, you know. She's a doer and a coper, and I'm really, really proud of my daughter. And she's asked me to speak on her behalf to thank Helen and Hugh for providing so much emotional support to her as she made the transition from home to home, really. I'd like to say too that it's been a great source of comfort to me to see that along with the love of a good man, she's surrounded by such kindness as she has in Paul's family. It absolutely gladdened my heart when on my very first visit there, just to see the sense of community, you know, that she was moving into. And it was really, really special. It was really special. I came home with a lot of peace of mind from that visit, from that very first visit, and I've had lots of visits since. And it's actually lovely to spend time with these two and just feel a little bit of what that priest talked about today, you know. And I know I speak her Nana too, you know, is very happy to be here today. And it's, you know, I'd just like to thank everyone, you know. I draw love and support and strength from all the good people in my life, and it seems to me the more I do that, the stronger the connections become. And, you know, I feel truly blessed to have healthy, long-standing connections to wonderful family and friends. And when I see Nicola and Paul and their lives and their connections and all their friends here today, it brings me great joy. So I'd like to thank you one and all for being here today. I'd also just like to say a small note of hello just to absent friends, to my father and Helen's sister Margaret, who just a moment to remember them today. And thanks on behalf of Tanya and myself. Thank you.
Woo!
Unfortunately, next to the stand, yeah,